What's your superpower? What is your strength? You should be damn good at that. Hone in on those things. Know what your strength is and be great at it. And if you do that, your weaknesses will naturally start to fade because everybody's paying attention to what your strengths are so much. They don't even know what your weaknesses are. When you shine, everybody else shines. And not everybody has that ability in life where you're just this bright light. And literally when you shine, it allows for everybody else to shine around you as well. And so don't ever forget that. Don't let anybody dim your light because you're just a little bit different than most. And that's okay. Understanding that is this real power in it because with your knowledge comes strength and power.
All right, welcome back to the Better Human podcast. This week we got the one and only Roman Harper. Roman, what's going on, brother?
What's happening, boss? How you doing? Thanks for having me, Greg. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. We were just rapping before and you were telling me that that you just got a fresh haircut today. What happened with that? You were growing your hair out and then what?
I was growing my hair out. It'd been like 2 months, 3 months without me getting a haircut. And that's a long time for me because I usually get my haircut once a week. Right. And so, you know, it started because my barber's mom passed away. So he was out for a couple of weeks. And then I was like, oh, it's so good. It's the off season for me. I don't have to worry about looking fresh all the time. And then I just started growing my hair, trying to do some different things with it. Because I've literally never had my hair long. My whole life, I've had pretty much the same kind of gist of the haircut, the same one I have right now. And it was good. I thought I was doing a little something. I'm feeling myself. And my wife was like, she was taking me to dinner last night because she paid. So she took me to dinner. And she was like, yeah, it's time for it to go. Like,
she's like, it ain't fresh.
It ain't fresh. I'm not feeling it. I'd like you to be clean cut. You can grow a beard, that's fine. But the hair, not happening.
But you know, with the beard, man, there's that stage you got to get through, right? Like there's the same with the hair. It's that messy stage. It's that 3 months. So it's whether you push past that or not. But I get it, man. I get it.
I agree. I was like dead smack in the middle of a little bit of the ugly phase. And she's like, I'm over the ugly phase. So I was like, all right, fine, whatever. I'll cut the hair. It's all good. It's just hair. And I've never had it anyway. So it's all good. But that is where I'm at. And you know, with the line of work that I'm in, I think your appearance matters.
1,000% it does. You're on TV.
Yes, exactly. and first impression matters. And you never know whose first time it might be.
Right. Well, tell me more about that. I mean, not from the vain standpoint and the media standpoint, but I grew up with that, right? Which is like making sure your first impression when you meet people, greeting them in the eye. Like we were chatting about being dads before, right before we started recording. Let's kick off with that. You know, what are some important lessons that you're trying to instill in your kids, you know, such as first appearances or impressions, not appearances. Impressions are important, right? How we show up in the world. What are some
Greg, you're dead on it. One of the biggest things I always try and harp on my son about, who's 7, is, you know, hey, when somebody's talking to you, look him in the face. You know what I mean? Even when I'm talking to you, look me in the face. You know, offer your hand, shake somebody's hand when you first meet him. Like, don't be, you know, I understand he's a little kid and, you know, he wants to be shy. But at the end of the day, as a young male, you have to be able to grow out of those things. It's just part of life. If you want to be successful, and it's just part of growing up and not being like cowering down all the time. I get it because he's he was the youngest, and he got beat up all the time by his sisters. But dude, you got to snap out of it. Not everybody.
That builds resilience, right?
It does. It does.
You got to fight for your food.
It does, right? And but the biggest thing I would say, man, about being a parent is that you know, I have 4 kids now, 2 girls, 2 boys. 11, 9 are my girls, London and Sydney, and then 7 and 3 are my boys, Roman and Sol. And so the biggest thing that I've learned is that they're all different. They don't come with instructions.
Right.
There is no perfect way or this exact model that's going to just heal and answer all problems. It's a day-to-day grind. And like, you just got to love them and do what's best for each individual one that you can and that you're allowed to do. Because of my NFL career, I'm afforded a little bit of some time and the ability to be able to do more things with them because I'm allowed to do some other things. But man, it's just nothing better than pouring into your kids. And I'm at this stage now where my kids still trust dad. Right. So, which is a beautiful place to be, because when I tell them something, I don't like tell them something just because I feel like they need to hear it. Most of the time I tell them something because it's really how I feel. And when it comes to sports or it comes to life or it comes to other things, going on, I just tell them how it is, and they trust that. And it really feels good to me when I know they trust me because, you know, say it's in basketball and I'm like, hey, instead of doing this, you should think about, you know, pump faking, going to the right, go all the way. Like, trust it.
Right.
Just do
Right.
it. See what happens. And then they do it, right? It is like the ultimate feeling for me when I see that, not so much that they did something great, because like doing something great in sports when you're young, like, I mean, that's whatever, you know, if your biggest win is when you're 9, 10, 11 years old, you ain't won nothing. You know, that's my perspective. But the fact that they trust me and that I can tell them to do something and they're like, you know what, I trust my dad enough to where I'm gonna go do it blindly. And for me, that's like the sweet spot I'm at with my kids right now. I love it to death. And just seeing how they continue to grow, how they're all different personalities. And you really start to see like, all right, the older sibling, the way she like caters to everybody. She's just such a sweetheart, nice as can be. My younger daughter, very analytical, the ultimate competitor, would take her sister out in a heartbeat to win, right? Just like, there's no question about it. Like,
does she get that from you? Does she get that from mom?
I think she gets it from mom because mom is crazy about everything. And me, I know how to turn it on and off. Like, I'm very competitive. Yes, I love to win. But man, my younger daughter, it's like, dude, she doesn't care. She'll off anybody just to win. And this is in tic-tac-toe. This is in soccer. This is all walks of life for her.
Having this background in sports and stuff, how do you facilitate that conversation with her? How much do you push her and be like, yes, this is just the raw stuff that eventually she'll mature with, versus, you know, as dad and as like, you know, a pro footballer, like this is my professional opinion, right? Because most parents, by the way, and I give a lot of this advice, right, with the sport parents, which is your job as parents is not to coach your kids on the field or on the pitch or on the in baseball. It's to be the parent. You got to let the coach be there. But you're kind of maybe a little bit in both worlds, right? Like
Correct.
My kids trust me, but like I've also got this like ability to guide and teach from an athletic standpoint. So back to it. How do you facilitate that conversation with her?
So as far as Sydney's concerned, it's that, and I totally believe in what you said, which is like, and she plays soccer. Soccer's her first love. So she's on the pitch. She's like way fast. And so, and she's developing the skills to be able to dribble and go with that speed. But it's a couple little things I tell my kids, and then I allow it to go and I let it breathe. Right. And so I tell them this, so often in life, people are always going to tell you that, man, you know, hey, these weaknesses, you're weak here. You got to work on your weaknesses. You need to improve in these areas. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, that's great. And I appreciate that. But hey, what's your superpower? Like, what's your strength? And you should be damn good at that. Like, man, hone in on those things. Like, know what your strength is and be great at it. And if you do that, your weaknesses will naturally start to fade because everybody's paying attention to what your strengths are so much. They don't even know what your weaknesses are. And then you can continue to, you know, sharpen your knife and, you know, fill the gaps with everything else. But man, if you're a player that knows what your strengths are and you're really good at that, that's the one that I'm really focused on. And I can clean up some weaknesses. And so that is the advice that I try and give my daughter in her competitive state. And look, she knows her strength is her speed and her competitiveness. And she's the one. She's a rare bird because I tell her all the time, I'm like, look, when you shine, everybody else shines. And not everybody has that ability in life where, you know, you're just this bright light. And literally when you shine, it allows for everybody else to shine around you as well. And so don't ever forget that. Don't let anybody dim your light because you're just a little bit different than most. And that's okay. Understanding that is this real power in it because with your knowledge comes strength and power. And so understanding it is a much better place to be in than not realizing your superpowers. And so each one of my kids, I try and make sure that they understand what their power is or what their strengths are. And when you figure it out, like my oldest daughter, I asked her, like, what's your strength? She's like, I don't know yet, Dad. I'm like, okay, and that's fine.
That's a good answer, by the way.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a great answer. Like, you don't know. That's fine. That means you might not have found it yet. And so we'll keep scratching the surface. My younger daughter, what's your strength? That I'm fast. I'm this. I'm like, okay, that's what it is, right? Don't ever forget that. My son, you know, who is the most overconfident kid I've ever been around. He's 7. He's not good at a lot of things, but in his mind, he's great.
He's the best.
Yeah, he's the
like
best.
my son too, right?
I'm not mad at that attitude, right? Because this guy, he's willing to work as long as you're willing to stay out there with him. And he, in his mind, he's better than what he is. So that already allows him to be, he's going to make a shot that he probably has no business making or even taking in basketball because he's so confident in himself. And so you have those type of players too, and those type of people. And a lot of things work out in their favor just because they're mind. Right. The power of the mind, they're going to will good things to happen for them all the time. And when negative things happen, it's just like, it doesn't even faze him. Yeah. And so that's kind of the cool thing with seeing, you know, 4 different kids with 4 different personalities, and, you know, me loving on all of them, but really learning how to parent all of them differently as well.
Right. You know, what you're talking about is mindset and mentorship and law of attraction and being able to focus on your goals and objectives. And it's so important. And I mean, I think in the world that we live today, this is, we might argue, the most important type of skills to be honing and be practicing and be working. And, you know, I talk to a lot of people about this kind of stuff, which is, it's not a thing that you learn once. It's a thing you practice, I agree. Right? We practice mindset. We practice sort of, you know, getting fast and doing the things that we need to do. I love the fact you talk about superpower and you know, helping your kids really hone in on who they are and who they can be and whatnot. And again, it's the same with life. I think this is great advice just for everything, you know, relationships, parenting, running a business, all that stuff.
Well, Greg, man, and it's so interesting because, and I didn't even think about this, but I'm really helping my kids be better in the future because they're practicing these things that they don't even know, right? It's subconsciously, because they don't know. That's what I'm totally just pushing in on them slowly but surely, and they don't even know. But they're becoming more confident in who they are. And I think one of the more powerful people in the world are the ones who know who they are. Correct. They can't be fooled. They can't be, you know, they understand their boundaries, their morals, and where they stand, and they're not going to back off those. And so I'm not saying nobody should ever back off things because it's a bad decision, but, you know, people that can stay strong don't fall for, you know, when you know who you are, you don't fall for just anything.
Right. You know, in the world of social and pressure and impression and stuff and being programmed and stuff, this is where what we're talking about now is so important, which is the family home, right? To develop those morals, those values, to be a father and to lead the family and to, you know, what I think one of the greatest gifts we can give our children or help our children develop is their ability to think. Their ability to understand what the situation is, and to that, who they are and what those sort of, you know, again, values and morals are. Totally agree. What was your upbringing like?
Well, I'm from a small town in Alabama called Prattville. It's not, I mean, in terms of Alabama, it's not that small. It's way smaller towns than where I'm from. But, you know, 20, 30,000 people. Both my parents still married, still much so, very much so in my life. So I grew up, you know, the funny thing is, like, I had 3 older brothers, 1 younger sister. So I kind of grew up just, you know, just trying to keep up. Right. And not knowing that my life would turn into what it has become. And so it's been really cool to kind of see the journey that's been my life, all the people that poured into Roman when you didn't get a lot out of return on their investment of pouring into Roman, and now seeing where it's become. But, you know, I always tell the one story that, you know, my former football coach, Sean Payton, was talking to the team one time about my whole little draft story. And he was like, you know, went to Alabama, all SEC player, you know, 2-parent home, father was a coach. He was safe. You know, we really loved this pick. He was safe. And I almost felt offended when he was like, I'm safe. I'm like, what do you mean by that? But then I take a step back, I take my emotions out of it. And the way they grade players is like, okay, his tape's good. We like his body type. he has both parents at home, both college graduated, both parents graduated from college. They're still married. His dad is a coach. He loves football. It's a safe pick. It's a home run. And being safe is not a disrespectful thing. It's it's a compliment. It's a kudos to everybody around you that's actually done and serviced you right. And so I was raised the right way. And I shouldn't have to apologize for that. And I shouldn't be offended by that. It's more just like, oh, actually, it's an ultimate compliment. And so I want to be able to give those things and pass it on to the next generation that are my kids. And so I never really thought about that, but it really does change everything. Your outlook on life. To have my mom always encourage me to be able to speak my mind, understand right from wrong, the value of education, the value of working, not only that, but not the value of speech. You know, when you use a lot of cuss words, it's really a lack of vocabulary. And so I can't use other words to show or use the same enthusiasm to get the same point across. So those little things for me are like what has really paid off, because now I'm on TV. I'm able to, when people listen to me talk, they're like, man, you're so well spoken. And it's like, I wouldn't think that as a person from Alabama. Like, and it's really just because you're just used to all of our country accents, and I don't have one.
You don't have an Alabama accent at all.
Yeah, but I don't have one. I don't speak with one. My mom was like, not happening. So all of these things are what kind of allowed me and set me up to be where I'm at. And I had no idea. Subconsciously, I was always just learning little by little. And I'm very inquisitive by nature. So I love to learn. I love to take on more information. I love to ask questions. And it gets on my wife's nerves because I'm a person that knows just a little bit about almost everything, but I'm a master of none.
Right. You know, the full line to that, which is like a jack of all trades is a master of none.
Yes.
A jack of all trades is, now I'm going to butcher it, but is better than being a master of one. Like there's another part to it that says,
oh, I never even heard that part.
You know what? I got to look it up. Hold on a sec. Let me look it up real quick. All right. This is good. Full line for jack of all trades. My wife makes fun of me how I Google, right? She was like, you write full sentences in there. Right? Okay, ready? Here's the complete saying was originally, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one.
I love it.
Right?
I'm going to drop that little nugget.
You should say to your wife, be like, actually, by the way, let me correct you, which might not be the best thing to do. Right? So, coming back to all of that, you said, I think it's really important to be a learner. That's another really important aspect in life. I think when it comes down to success, part of success is the willingness to learn. And there's a definition for it now called learnability. In fact, some of we use this in the corporate world sometimes, right? Like, not is the person capable of learning, it's are they motivated and willing, and they put the effort in and the exercise to learn, right? And if you can do that, you'll always be growing. I mean, we know neurological pathways are always developing, right? That's how our brain works. And we can just keep developing these new neurological connections and pathways, right? Expanding how we process things. I think this is the line where it says it takes a lifetime to become wise.
Okay.
Right. All right. So it's a little morbid because at the end, this is upon your death, but you are wise by the time you die.
My dad always told me, he's like, the day you stop learning, the day you die. So as long as you have that type of mentality where you can learn from anybody, you can learn from a homeless person on the street. So, and not saying like, oh, I can't learn from them, they don't know anything. I mean, literally, you can learn from anybody, and you should learn something or attempt to learn something new every day. That's my outlook. And like I said, my parents have been big influences on my life, mom and dad, from different walks, but from different angles as well. So that's my take on it. Is like, I'm always trying to learn something every day. Like I just learned today about the jack of all trades. There you go. And you also said you're learning how to play golf as well, which, maybe we could poke fun at this a little bit. What is it like being a Super Bowl champion trying to hit a golf ball? It's very frustrating.
Right.
Very frustrating because the ball isn't moving, and football teaches you to be like explosive and,
Correct.
Explode and like go hard and like try and kill. And it's the opposite in golf.
Golf is
and my golf coach, that you can't try and overswing. Overswing's bad.
Right.
Balance is good. Don't try and overswing it here. Understanding, Roman, you got to use the smaller muscles, right? All these big muscles that I've been working out my whole life, they do nothing for golf. It's actually all bad.
Right.
All it does is make you tighter, bigger. It's all about fluidity, being balanced on the backswing, coming back through.
These skinny guys hitting the ball so far.
Yeah, it's so far. And it's because they're able to get the club head square on the golf ball consistently all the time. And they get the power right before the contact. And that's like it. And so for me, I got to understand I'm naturally strong enough so I don't have to like overswing. That's where I get myself into trouble. And it's been such an adventure. And now I'm able to score and get a couple points here and there. So that's what keeps me going. And it's also that I want to be good at something I'm terrible at. And so it's a constant challenge. And this is something that I can do, keep my mind mentally sharp, and I'm not physically taxing my body as much as I used to. Correct.
Although, golf is an incredible sport to help you develop the mental strength and focus and calmness and quietness. And, without that, it's very hard to hit that golf ball. Have you seen the movie Happy Gilmore? I'm sure you have.
Of course I have. Of course. It's like the best. He's so mad. He's like all the time. Yeah. It doesn't help. It's just funny because, man, golf because it's such an individualized sport, whether you're on a team or not, you still there's nobody else that can help you. And when I've seen golfers really struggle, and as I've got to know a couple of them, it's all like in between here. It's all there. It's like they've been really good. All of a sudden they get the yips, or they just literally can't they can't putt today, and you just can't score, and or you just can't get off the tee like me. So it's all these things. Like I could hit a regular iron shot off the ground, fine,
no problem.
The moment I put it on the tee, same club, it's like something goes haywire. I don't know why, but this is the sport that it is.
Maybe it's the tee. Maybe the tee is messing you up, right?
It's so mental. It's a mental thing. I even get nervous standing over it so differently.
Yeah. Robin Williams does an amazing skit on golf, where he talks about the people that developed the golf game. I'll send it to you afterwards. It is
okay. I'd love to see
2.5 minute skit. It is like belly chuckling, laughing, crying type of comedy. It's excellent, and it describes the game of golf so well. But you said it. The game is in the mental side of things, right? So. Cool. That's where they say at the end of the day, when you play golf, you're playing against yourself. And that's kind of like life as well, right? I mean, being able to take those moments and reflect and to pace and to balance and to, there's a lot of like links between golf and how we could be successful in life.
Yeah. And, one of the biggest things for me is that I do a lot of self-reflecting. I come from this world of football where every play, it's a plus minus league. So I'm graded on every single play. So for me, unlike most people, like I always go back and watch myself. I always go and try and see how I can improve in this area, or how could I be better in anything, just because I naturally am always trying to get better in something. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And so that's my mindset. And because of that, it allows me to always attempt to have people look, or how am I being graded, versus like my wife, she doesn't like looking back at things like that. And that may be more normal than what I'm used to, but I just know I come from this type of world and it's worked out for me. And I'm cool with knowing exactly where I'm at all the time. I'd actually prefer that. Right. So that I can know like, okay, I need to pick it up or, rev it back down a little bit.
Right. In leadership, we talk a lot about how do you communicate well, where you're giving people consistent sort of feedback, performance measurement, metrics, guidance, direction, and all that stuff. And most people don't want to have the conversation. I think in my work and in my experience, it's come down to two things. First, people's fear fear of the response, the consequence of having the conversation, the bringing it up, the fear of feeling guilty, all of that emotional sort of stuff. I think the other side is people's motivation. They just don't want to have the conversation, right? It's just like, why? Hopefully they'll just figure it out, right? And what you've just described is like, we do so much better in life when we've got this awareness and this insight to what's working and what's not working. You know, SEALs practices, Navy SEALs practices, you know, when it comes down to their missions, there's an AAR, after action report, right? Let's look at everything, right? That what worked, what didn't work, how did it work? You know, how do we improve it? You know, there's plan A, plan B, plan C. It's very much broken down into specifics. And, you know, when we think about reflection in today's world, you know, there's a world of thought leadership and meditation and presence and stuff. And, you know, people use the word reflection, right? Oh, I like to reflect. And, you know, I like the way you've just described it, which is reflection also requires some sort of output, some sort of data, some sort of reports. Because if not, you might as well just sit and stare off into the stars and, you know, breathe deeply and inhale through the nose and exhale out the mouth, which I'm a big believer in breathing, right? But it's what we do with it. And I think what I like about our conversation today is everything's leading back to some sort of action, right? Which is, okay, you know, we do this and it's because we're trying to get that. Talk to me about you like your lifestyle. So, you know, how do you eat? You know, tell me about your workouts, you know, your reflection exercises. Like what's a typical sort of day or rhythm for you?
So right now I'm living the dream because my kids are with the grandparents and they've been there for 3 weeks. So I'm just like
every day.
Yeah, dude, I'm like living the dream right now. But typically I get up, take the kids to school or whatever that may, then I'll get a workout in. And then if I got some kind of time between lunch and picking them up, the kids, if I need to focus on a work project, I'll do it then. Or I'm one of those guys that just burns the candle. So I just stay up later and don't take away from family time. I think that's important when I get to be around them to make sure I am where my feet are at. One of my coaches Coach Ron Rivera taught us that. It's like, you know, being where your feet are, being present, like that matters. If you're out with your friends, like be there. If you're with your kids, like really try and be there for them. And being that type of person of being present all the time. And I'm not perfect, but I work at that. So usually I'm gonna try and get a workout in at some point. I'm not consistent like that. I probably work out 3 times a week, 4 times a week on a good week. And then from there, it's usually kid stuff. And then when my work comes together, I'm a late night worker is when I'm grinding. The wheels are usually churning 7 to 11, 12, 1 o'clock. The wheels are just turning. And when I'm in a go mode, I just go. And so for me, it's a lot of in my work where I'm, you know, talking college football, being an analyst, I'm watching a lot of film. I'm taking a lot of notes the same way I would do when I was studying to play against the team. So just looking at what they do, they, you know, everybody has tendencies. What do they like to do? First, second down, third down, things that show up over and over and over again, defensively, offensively, all those different things. And everybody has a DNA, including coaches. So you learn their DNA and what they like to do. And then I'm just able to just talk about it and really just break it all down. And then with it also being live TV and what would I do now, you got to be able to, you know, midstream adjust. Like, you know, your guy besides you's talking about one thing, but you have another point, but it doesn't go together. Like, why are you just going to mess up the whole flow? You got to be able to do all these things. You got to be able to midstream adjust. You got to have enough bullets in your gun to be able to shoot different things and be able to match them all up and really be ready to make good TV. I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned in my new line of work and being a college football analyst is that, dude, I'm all about making good TV. And so you got to learn how to be a good teammate. It's not about you just making all your great points and you just sounding smarter than everybody else. Like, that's easy. The hard part is making it all look together, like all of us looking good, having great points, bouncing ideas off each other, great TV and conversations that are entertaining. Like, that's the sweet spot that you're trying to always get. It's like, man, that was a great segment. That was great. And so that's what I'm constantly trying to learn how to do. And right now I've kind of, this is my 4th year doing this. And it's really important to me. Like my attitude and my mental coming into this season is going to be like knockout. Like I'm really excited. This is the most excited I've been about approaching a college football season. And it's for a couple of different reasons. Number one, the diversity in which teams could win it. And then also it's my fourth year. Like I know what I'm doing. I'm starting to become into my own. And I'm confident in my own share and confident in who I am and the words that I speak and what my eyes are telling me. And, I told a friend of mine, my fourth year in the NFL, I made my first Pro Bowl. So this is my fourth year in this. Like, I'm ready. Like, so this confidence is in myself because I know what I can do after seeing the game and starting to slow down, like just ready to go. And that's where I'm at right now.
You've just nailed something, which is confidence comes after, not before. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like the chicken or the egg. Like a lot of people ask me, like, how do I feel confident before going into this? I'm like, it's not. It's
it won't.
Confidence comes from that experience and that rhythm and that practice and that doing where there's a little bit of muscle memory, right? Mm-hmm. There's a great Chinese proverb, and you're talking about this when it comes down to teams, which is if you want to go fast, you go by yourself. If you want to go far, you go with others. Right. And you mentioned earlier, you said, one of the things that you really sort of instilled and talked to your daughter about is making sure that when her light shines, right, it allows others to shine as well. It's exactly what's described within this team, right? When it comes down to broadcasting and being the analyst, like what do we do to operate well? On that note, let's chat a little bit about team success. I mean, what does it take for a team to win a Super Bowl? What are some of the things that we might be able to share with the audience?
Man, you got to be extremely lucky. The ball's got to bounce your way. You got to be healthy. It's just so hard.
It's like the universe, everything just needs to align.
Everything has to go right. I'm serious. It's not the best team. It's the team that plays the best that day. Once you get there, right? And it's so many different things that all come into work and kind of have to line up for you. Because I'll be flat out honest with you. I played football from fourth grade till I was 35, almost 36 years old. And, I only got the end of the year speech where we did it once. Like you play football, and football is something in a sport that 75 to 80% of it's all negative.
Right.
You get yelled at practice. Practice isn't negative. It's the grind of trying to prepare for a season. It's working out. It's training. It's trying to eat right. It's injury prevention. It's rehab from injuries. It's all these other things. It's like all this negative, and it's losses. I'm not even talking about, the wins. That's like such a small percentage of it. But man,
how do you deal with the losses?
I'm not going to say get used to it.
Right.
I mean, I'm a firm believer in that. And I learned this later on in life. I didn't lose a lot young. We won a lot of games when I was in Little League and stuff like that. So it's cool. But I take a lot of joy when I see my kids lose games or certain situations, because it's an opportunity to teach.
Right.
And it's never really a loss. It's really an opportunity to learn, because you always learn so much more after a loss than you ever do after a win. Because if you win, even if you played bad, you're like, dude, we still won. It's like, it's all good. Like, I'm good. Like, why are you worried about that? We won. Versus when you lose, you're like, oh, the sky's falling. How can I get better? What do I need to be doing to get better? You're on this race to improve, like a constant race to get better. And it's because you lost. And so that's why I'm like, man, I never want to get you used to losing, but man, when you lose, it's a great opportunity out there. Like that is when you learn the most. Your most opportunity, you want to learn. You enthusiastically want to get better because you don't want the same feelings and what just happened to you. So for me, that's how I've always kind of looked at it. And that's what I've learned. It's like, man, when we lose, everybody in here is like, their ears are tuned in. Everybody's got their notepad out. Everybody wants to get better. When we win, it's like, we got it. We're good. And it's just a totally different attitude. Even though we might have played just as bad, we just got lucky. The other team was worse. Yeah. But it doesn't feel that way.
I just thought of the line, you lose to learn, right?
Yeah.
You lose to learn, and you don't learn. And you can't learn unless you lose. And the ultimate loss is when you don't learn anything.
Correct.
That's going to be like one of those jack of all trades is a master of none. I'm gonna work it out. I'm gonna put it in quotations. I'm gonna post it. In fact, I'll send it to you. Right? You could use it. Be like, we came up with this. You lose to learn line. Right? It's very true, man. You know, it's also, you were talking about golf before. It's the same thing, right? What you're talking about, which is just the exercise of figuring out what works. And I think that's sort of what life is about. And I see so many people, and we were talking about resilience before, there's not enough resilience to lean into the learning, into the loss. I mean, it's such a positive, simple exercise. I was taught this from a very young age, which mistakes lead to questions, questions lead to answers, and answers lead to solutions, right? It's through the mistake, right? It for me, and I even might sound a little vicious, but like, you know, I learned through being thrown into it. You had to figure out in some cases what not to do as much as what to do, right? Remember,
correct.
We learned how to swim. My father literally tossed me poof in the water. Can't do that to kids today, right? But back in the 60s, it was a different story.
We don't tell everybody, but some of us do. Right. And it's also, you learn like the stove is hot. Not because we tell you, it's because you reach up there half the time. Like, oh, correct. That is hot.
Correct, right?
These are all like you said.
It builds, man. It builds. I almost became a pro swimmer. I got up to a pretty high level, but I think this is what's important in the world today, which is there's so much thought leadership out there about be successful and hustle and be purpose, have your purpose and have your passion and do. And it's almost this like in your face, just focus on all the positive stuff because the negative stuff, don't worry about that. And it's actually the opposite advice. We should flip the entire script, which is let's go and examine with a microscope or a magnifier on exactly what went wrong, how it went wrong, where did it go wrong, what am I going to do about it next time? And if we could do that as parents, if we could do that as leaders, if we could do that as spouses, people, right, human beings on this planet, you just might get along a little bit better, right? We just might have more success.
You'll also figure out the why, right? Which I think is important. Like one of the most important things that we don't ask enough questions to is the why. All right, well, why did that go? And then you look at it, you're like, oh, well, that's why I did this, or that's why I was thinking this. Or for me in sports, it's like your eyes all the time. Your eyes. Your eyes are right, your body normally naturally will do right. But, you know, if people don't know what they're looking at or what they're looking for, then how do they know? And so really learning the why, I think that's a big deal when you go back and reflect.
Yeah. I was teaching my wife how to play pickleball yesterday.
Nice.
You need to look at the ball when you hit it, right? Don't look at where you're trying to hit the ball. Look at the ball. It's the same with golf, right? You got to keep your head down, right?
Yes, you do.
So yeah, and engineers teach the 5 whys, right? Which is why did the foundation fail, right? Why did the concrete mix not get formed? Why? And you break it down to from an engineering standpoint, exactly what the sort of single point of failure was.
I didn't know this. My wife is going to hate me because I'm gonna be a why if the engineers are doing it, I might as well compare myself.
Well, let me give you some advice because I teach communication skills, and the one thing, and we teach how to use questions, right? And very effective questions are what and how, and we could actually replace the why question with the what and the how. So, hey, what happened and how did it go wrong, or how did we do well? In communication with another human being, the worst question to ask them is why. Why did you do that? Or why did you fail? Or why did this happen? Because what it does is it forces them into a position to defend, to validate, to justify. Now, we want to get to the why. We absolutely want to get to the why. But we need the human brain operating in that intelligent brain, which is like, oh, let me process the information and share those data points. And it's the what and the how, right? So you got two options here. If you ever do the why question, just pull out, I'm just doing the 5 whys. I'm just going through an engineering process, and then use the what and the how after.
I'm totally going to use the what and the how. That's it.
Right. And
she has no idea. I'm just Jedi mind tricking her the whole time.
That's it. And it's going to give you the why. And that's what I say to people. I say, you ask the what and the how question, you're going to get the why. You ask the why question, you're going to get the problem.
Yeah, the defensive. Put the gloves on, ready to go.
Correct. All right, brother, man, time flies. Roman, we come to the end of the episode and we have a really important question, which is, what do you think we could all do to be better humans tomorrow?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say, I mean, it's not my saying, but Michael Jackson said it. It starts with the man in the mirror first. And so if you want to make the world a better place, I think you need to make sure you focus on yourself as well, and understand that, all the issues going on, what can I do to be better? What can I do to service more people? And so I would try and start there. And if you truly want to make the world a better place, I would start in your own community and really trying to serve. Like, learn what that's like to be able to serve, put yourself last, and really try and serve somebody outside of your own family. I think that's a huge deal. And if they do that, I think if we all did that, I think the world would be better. And because it naturally, puts you last and you put somebody else in front of you. And that's not what we do good in America, for sure.
Right. For sure. That's amazing. All right. For the audience, if they want to come and follow Roman Harper, which they probably already are, but how do they get in touch with you? Drop your links. And you have a charity as well. How can people learn more about your charity?
My charity is harpershope41.org. And my Instagram is harp41, or harp_41. Just look up Roman Harper. I'm the only one with a blue.
Yeah. And we'll put all your links in the show notes as well.
Twitter's Roman is harp41 as well.
Amazing. Roman, this has been a real pleasure, man. I enjoyed our conversation today.
Thank you, man. I learned 3 or 4 things in this conversation today. So I'm good. I'm checking the box for today. I'm gonna go play some golf. We're gonna be good.
Amazing. And when you hit the ball softly, right? And as my father used to say, he says, you need to loosen the sphincter as you swing down, right?
Oh, that's really okay. That's it. I got it.
All right, amazing. All right, to the audience, if you like today's episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Go and follow Roman Harper if you're not following him already. Check out his charity. We're going to have all those links and information in the show notes. As usual, stay happy, stay healthy, and we will see you next week.